Hello dear students, let me take the opportunity to welcome you all in the academic year 2020 in 12th standard. So the first lesson that we are going to deal with today is an astrologer's day. But before going to head into the lesson, let me have a look on the icebreakers. The first activities which is prescribed for your icebreakers is discuss with your partner and complete the activity. Now the activity is being given here and you are supposed to complete it with the help of your partner. Now the question is, what are your strengths? Once again I repeat the questions. What are your strengths? Now 3 columns are given here. The first column is all about strengths. The second is why do you feel so, and the third is dream career. And one example has been done for you, that is painting and drawing. Now let us assume that this is your strength, right? So what do you feel so? Can visualize and express. Now this is your strength. Now painting and drawing is your strength. So what do you feel so? Because you can visualize through painting and drawing, or you can express through painting and drawing. Now dream career, so it could be important for being an commercial artist, or it is important for a cartoonist, or you can choose as a career cartoonist. Now this is what the strengths talks about. Now you are supposed to complete all these 3 details with the help of your partner. The next question is, the scene in a local market of a village, town, city is a very attractive. People with different occupations sell their wares. Discuss with your partner the variety of activities at the local market. Next question is, in a village, town, city, it is quite a common sight to see an astrologer sitting by the roadside with his professional equipments. Discuss with your partner and list the requirements for his trade. Now, which are the things which are important to do an astrology? Right. So, the example is being given here is the things which are required to do astrology is a parrot, cards, etc. So, you are supposed to give the other requirements. Next question. There are certain unreasonable beliefs among people living in our society. Now what are those beliefs? Let us have a look. Certain common events are linked with superstitions. List such events, discuss the superstitions linked with them and the means of their eradication. Now one is done for you. Let's have a look on a cat crossing your path. Now many times we may come across the word or a sentence. Many times, see what happens whenever we leave our home or house in order to go to school or college or office or anywhere you are going. What happens? Unfortunately, a cat crosses the road and automatically we recalls the statements which is done earlier, that once the cat crosses the road, it is not good. Now does it have anything to do with superstition? Now you are supposed to identify the link, right? Now you are supposed to complete all the remaining activities. Now we are on the page number 2. Let's have a look on the introduction of the writer. R.K. Narayan. The lifespan is 1906 to 2001. Now R.K. Narayan is also known as Rashipuram Krishnaswamy Iyer Narayan Swamy. He was one of the best known novelists among Indian English writers. He is the author of 14 novels, 5 volumes of short stories and a number of travelogues, and has a collection of non-fiction to his credit. He also wrote his memoir, that is an autobiography, My Days, in the year 1975. R.K. Narayan also created the imaginary town of Malgudi, where realistic characters in a typically Indian setting lived amid unpredictable events. His stories are grounded in compassionate humanism and celebrated the humor and energy of ordinary life. His stories are characterized by a simple style and a subtle humor. Humor that is funny in nature or a comic. Narayan was introduced to American readers in the year 1952 by the Michigan State University Press. These include Swami and Friends, The Bachelor of Arts 1937, The Dark Room 1938, An Astrologer's Day and Other Stories 1947, Mr. Sampath 1949, The Financial Expert 1954, Waiting for the Mahatma 1955, The Guide 1958, and many other books. His novel The Guide won him the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1961, the most coveted literary honor in India. His writing is distinguished by humor and unoffending irony, a unique Indianness, and a simplicity which is utterly charming and authentic. R.K. Narayan typically portrays the peculiarities of human relationship and the ironies of Indian daily life. His style of writing is graceful, marked by genial humor, genial that is friendly, elegance and simplicity. Let's start with the actual story, An Astrologer's Day. Punctually at midday, he opened his bag and spread out his professional equipment, which consisted of a dozen cowrie cells, a square piece of cloth with obscure mystic charts on it, a notebook, and a bundle of Palmyra writing. His forehead was resplendent with a sacred ash and vermilion, and his eyes sparkled with a sharp abnormal gleam, which was really an outcome of a continual searching look for customers, but which his simple clients took to be a prophetic light and felt comforted. Now it was the midday time when astrologer came in the market. He opened his bag and spread out his professional equipments, which were consisted of a dozen cowrie cells, mystic charts, and Palmyra writings, and so on. His eyes were very sparkled. His forehead was very resplendent with sacred ash and vermilion. Right, and his eyes were continuously, relentlessly in search of clients and customers. Right, his eyes were very powerful, as if they were brightening and they were sparkling. Right, as they placed near the painted forehead. To crown the effect, he wound a saffron colored turban around his head, and as we all know that in order to have a greater effect on the customers, on the clients, or on the people, the astrologer always used to wear a saffron colored turban around his head, right? And this color scheme would never fail, as we all know that if a person wear a saffron color clothes or any orange color clothes, we tend to have a kind of tendency that the person is religious or either a person is polite. This color scheme never failed. People were attracted to him as bees are attracted to cosmos or dahlia stalks. Now, as we all know that as bees are attracted towards cosmos, a kind of ferociously a colorful flower, in the same way people were being attracted towards the astrologer, as he was a good looking man with his sparkling eyes and his beard and his everything, that his dress was in a proper manner, right? And he was looking as if a religious man. That's why people were entirely attracted towards him. He sat under the buff of a spreading tamarind tree which flanked a path running through the town hall park. It was a remarkable place in many ways, and the astrologers sat under the tamarind tree, and the tamarind tree was very big, right? His buff were flanked all over the path, and that was the remarkable place in the market. A surging crowd was always moving up and down this narrow road from morning till night. A variety of trades and occupations was represented all along its way. Medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware and junk, magicians, and above all, an auctioneer of cheap clothes who created enough din all day to attract the whole town. Now, as we all know that whenever we visit any market, we came across different trades and different occupations in the same market. In the same way, here too we came across that medicine sellers, sellers of stolen hardware, right? What we call the things which were stolen from the other place, and they are being brought here in the market and they are sold. Then next is an auctioneer of cheap clothes. Now they used to make a din, they used to make a loud noise in order to attract the customers, the people, right? Now next to him, in a vociferousness, being loud and noisy, came a vendor of fried groundnut, who gave his ware a fancy name each day, calling it Bombay ice cream, one day, on the next Delhi almond, and on the third Raja's delicacy, and so on so forth, and people flocked to him. Now, if the vendor is giving a different name to his wares, to his goods, definitely the people would be attracted towards the things or the goods, right? A considerable portion of this crowd dallied before the astrologer too. Now some part of the market, some part of the customers, they dallied before the astrologer too, right? The astrologer transacted his business by the light of a flare which crackled and smoked up above the groundnut heap nearby. Half of the enchantment of the place was due to the fact that it did not have the benefit of municipal lighting. The place was lit up by a shop's lights, and the entire market was lit up by the shop's light, which did not have the benefits of municipal lighting. Some were lit up by old cycle lamps, and one or two, like the astrologer, managed without lights of their own. And in the market there were certain people who managed their business without any light, with the help of shops lights. It was a bewildering, confusing, baffling crisscross of light rays and moving shadows. Now the market was full of bewildering crisscross, means there were a kind of confusion, there was not a proper light, right? And the light which was there in the shop, with the help of which many people managed their business. This suited the astrologer very well, for the simple reason that he had not in the least intended to be an astrologer when he began life. Actually, the astrologer did not want to be an astrologer, but unfortunately he had to become an astrologer. He knew no more what was going to happen to others than he knew what was going to happen to himself next minute. Actually, he was not able to know, or he was not able to even understand what is going to happen in the people's life, or even he was not able to understand what is going to happen to in his own life too. He was as much a stranger to the stars as were his innocent customers, right? Really, he was as strangers to the stars. In the same way, his innocent customers were strangers to him. Yet he said things which pleased and astonished everyone. But with the help of astrology, he used to tell, or he used to give some such words, or he used to tell the things which were pleased and which were astonished everyone. That was a matter of practice, that was a matter of study, that was a matter of stewed guesswork. All the same, it was as much an honest man's labor as any other, and he deserved the wages he carried home at the end of the day. He had left his village without any previous thought or plan. Now, why did he leave his place? That is a big question in front of me. Now we will discuss later on. If he had continued there, he would have carried on the work of his forefather. If the astrologer would have lived in his own village, then definitely he would have carried out the work of his forefather, that is tilling the land, living, marrying and ripening in his cornfield and ancestral home, etc., etc. But that was not to be. He had to leave home without telling anyone, and he could not rest till he left it behind a couple of 100 miles. And somehow he could manage to leave the village, and he did not take rest unless and until he reached 100 miles away from his home. To a villager, it is a great deal, as if an ocean flowed between. Now, for villagers, it was a kind of a great deal, as if an ocean flowed between. The astrologer had a working analysis of mankind's troubles. Now, which are the mankind's troubles? That marriage and money and tangles of human ties. Now, all these are the human or the mankind's troubles, right? And he was able to analyze now why these particular troubles occurs or happens, right? Long practice had sharpened his perceptions. Now it was a matter of practice, it was a matter of study. Now long practice had sharpened his perceptions. Now he was able to understand the problems of humans, right? Now within 5 minutes he understood what was wrong and what was right, and moreover he charged 3 pies per questions.